Arguably the most popular supplement in the world, well, at least from a research perspective, is creatine, our good friend creatine, right, Dina?
I'm a huge fan.
I think, it's funny because I remember when did you just flex?
I
No.
know, but I have three layers on, so there's nothing that you can really see except the shriveled fabric.
Yes. I just remember vividly we were interviewing Stacey Sims, and listeners, you can find out. I think we've talked to her a couple times, so I can't remember the episodes, but go back to our episodes and check that out. But I remember her, we were interviewing her. She was like, "Oh yeah, Bob, creatine, and you should
Oh
really take him."
yeah.
Like Stacey, man, I've been taking creatine for 15 years. Like seriously, right?
Yeah, you were an OG
Some
in
of
the
us were
endurance world.
actually taking it for different reasons, right? I
Mhm.
mean, a lot of the research has come into play, which is fantastic. But yeah, I mean, I just kind of feel like creatine is so popular these days, and like you, I'm sure I get a ton of questions about creatine. So, listeners, special episode today, we thought we would address the probably top three questions that Dina and I receive about taking creatine. So,
Yeah.
Dina, you want to kick it off with the first question that you usually get?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the most common questions I get is what time of day should
Mm,
I take my creatine?
that's
And
funny. I get that question quite a bit
it
too.
is such a
Yeah.
common question. And I wonder, that just comes from the multitude of supplements that we have. Some of them
Hmm.
do matter with food or without, and then that affects your timing. Or will it affect sleep, if it's a caffeine type of supplement or whatnot? So with creatine, my understanding here, Bob, is ultimately the most important thing is to take it regularly, meaning consistently on a daily basis without regard to specific time of day or exact timing around exercise. I think though, and we'll have an expert on soon to talk about creatine, but I think there appears to be a slight benefit if you do put your creatine around exercise. So if it's in that pre-exercise window, for example, in the whatever half hour before, especially if it is more of a strength session or something with some intensity or some power, strength movements, high speed movements, things like that, that you might experience some benefit from that. But I think overall, the consensus is it doesn't matter when you take it, just take it every day, is kind of the answer I give and make it convenient for you in what your routine is. So that's kind of my simple answer there. And curious if you have some other input.
Yeah, back in the days, check. It was thought, and this was way back in the days, it was thought that you really only needed to take creatine like before and after workouts, right? Strength training
Yeah.
workouts specifically. And, I think the research has proven that that's not the case 100% of the time. So I agree with you. My message is just take it consistently. It doesn't matter the time of the day. Obviously, the best case scenario is, yeah, if you are exercising that day, if you can take it around there somewhere, fantastic.
Yeah.
But here's the thing too, like you need to think about, well, why are you taking it? Are you taking it for performance, like an ergogenic aid benefit?
Right.
Right? Where we know creatine, we've talked about this in past episodes, creatine will help ATP production, so you can get that energy a little more quicker. So maybe strength training, it will definitely benefit you more. But
Mhm.
why? It's the why. Like put it in context. Are you using it more for cognitive, more for many, many other reasons that you can use creatine for, which we'll talk to our expert on. But no, I think end of the day is, yeah, just make sure you're taking it consistently. Don't forget because we won't go down this rabbit hole, but you need to take creatine consistently because your muscles need to saturate with creatine. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's part of the goal, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you have anyone taking creatine during exercise?
Not on purpose. They might have like a shake that they put some creatine in beforehand and they don't finish it and then they
Okay.
sip it during,
Yeah.
but not on purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
All right, Bob. Well, what about you? What is a common question you get asked about creatine?
Oh, I still get asked this. Do I need to load? I still can't believe I get this question, but it is actually because I know why I'm getting this question because some research still does loading phases. but not, I haven't seen that many in athletes. I see it more for like older populations and stuff and looking at functional range of motion and activities of daily living and stuff. But it's the loading. It's the do I need to load or go through a loading phase with creatine? The easy answer is, well, it does depend, right? And put it into context. But for us normal folk, no, you don't need to load at all, right? You take your normal dosage, which is typically between 3 to 5 grams of creatine a day, sometimes 5 to 10 grams, again, depending on the person, depending on the reason. But you don't need to go through that loading phase, which is traditionally a couple weeks, well, it's usually a week or two of 20 grams a day. Although I've been reading research where they will do a loading phase because they want, I mean, you have to think of research again, right? They usually don't have a lot of time to do the research, so they want to get maximal results based on the time. So they'll go through a loading phase to make sure they can fit in all of the data that they need to do and all the steps they need to do in the research. So I don't believe you need to go through a loading phase if you've got time and you're not part of a research study.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that, Bob. And yeah, if you don't have a specific performance target, like if you're I'm going to the CrossFit World Games or whatever, and
Yeah,
you're brand new to the supplement, like, oh, shoot,
yeah,
let's tap into everything we can. And we only have this much time, so let's do a
yeah.
loading phase. But yeah.
Now I will offer a caveat. Sorry to steal that
Oh, no,
moment.
good.
I will periodize it for athletes during certain times of
Yeah.
the year. So it's not, I guess it's not really a loading phase because they might take like a maintenance dose and then before a competitive event, if I know it's coming and it's super important, like an A race, A competition, then we'll increase the dosage, but it won't technically fall under that loading phase because they've already been taking it,
Yeah.
right?
Muscles are saturated.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, another question I get asked, I'll be curious about you too, Bob, is especially from my lady athletes, my female athletes who start creatine and then report or have curiosity, like, I feel, is it possible I'm gaining weight?
Oh,
I
that's a good
feel
question, Dee.
heavier. I
Yeah.
feel puffier. Something's going on.
Mm.
And so, as us complex humans can be, like, there are a lot of variables, especially for menstruating athletes or perimenopause. There's a lot of fluid shifting, a lot of bloating, a lot of GI issues that can happen depending on, where we are in a menstrual cycle or our perimenopause, quote unquote, journey. Uh, and so, it is true that creatine, especially if you are doing a loading phase, has been seen, that there is some water retention, and that's just part of how the creatine compound, it can draw water into the cells. And so if you're doing a very high dose, this loading phase, some of that temporary acute weight shift can be due to this water retention, but it's not fat gain. And so, for those that are taking that maintenance dose, it might be that 3 to 5 grams. I still hear, like, what? I feel like I'm gaining weight. And I think that can be, again, maybe an acute response
Mm.
as your body's kind of introducing this compound, maybe at a higher level than what you've been taking previously through food or getting through food. Usually, though, it settles out, and that if it is to be attributed to the creatine supplementation, it might be a week or two of this temporary, fluid retention kind of status, but it is not fat gain. There's the question of, are some people more like of a hyper responder to creatine? I think that's to be determined. Like, how do we figure that out? And how do we measure our creatine stores and things like that? But I would say ultimately, it's not like fat gain. If you are experiencing a shift in your body mass and you happen to think it's tied to creatine, should be short-lived, settle out here in a short period of time. So I hope that helps kind of put some context around it. But there again, there's so many variables with our day to day that oftentimes it just seems like it's the creatine and it's really not.
Yeah, and I will say it happens in males also. But yeah, I mean, those fluid shifts up to four to
Yeah.
5 pounds, that could be anything practically. I mean, that
Yeah.
could be inflammation, that could be bowel movements, that could be dehydration or hydration. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many things it could be. But here's like, I'm sure just to kind of play off that question, Dee, I mean, I'm sure you would agree with this that the benefits of creatine, especially more the research is proving all these amazing benefits that we just have never seen before probably outweigh a little bit of fluid shifting in the body. And maybe you step on the scale and you're 2 or 3 pounds heavier because maybe you're retaining more water. The benefits probably outweigh that. I mean, would you agree?
That's interesting. Yeah, I think even if we are retaining fluid, and let's say we're loading a little bit, not doing classic loading, but prior to a race, there's that concept like, well, geez, if you've got a little bit more water retention, doesn't that help us even
Mm.
from a hydration or just like other homeostasis kind of perspective for our competition? And then I was just thinking, Bob, like long term, if we are doing strength resistance work, looking to maintain or build our skeletal muscle and we use creatine in conjunction, like, and I'm heavier as a result, but that is mostly muscle. I mean, I will
Mhm.
take it, right? Because it's a stronger, more functional human being. And so that's kind of a different mindset or a shift in how we perceive our body mass.
Yeah, I don't think our worth, I've said this before, I don't think our worth should be placed on a scale. I think a lot of this has to do with longevity and not only how you feel, but how much muscle mass that you can take into your later years, because that's
Yeah.
functional, right? It's
Yeah.
not non-functional mass. So I definitely agree with, I think that's such a popular question is just the whole, oh my gosh, I feel bloated, I'm gaining weight. I should,
Yeah.
because all of a sudden psychologically we're like, oh, well, I shouldn't do it because I'm gaining weight.
Yeah.
But remember all the amazing benefits creatine has, and the devil that you're standing on, maybe daily, hopefully not, i.e., the body weight scale. It's not giving you the whole picture.
Well, and I'll just repeat something you just said a few minutes ago, the many benefits of creatine, which we're going to talk about a couple of those other things in an upcoming episode, but it is pretty profound.
Mm.
So, yeah, what your context is, what kind of athlete, what are you looking for long term and health perspectives, all of that. Geez, this supplement is, I would say the pros are outstanding, meaning the benefits. The list is long, Bob. So, those
Well,
are
and that's
a
yeah,
few
and
of the
that's why we see
questions.
so many creatine supplements on the market. I mean, literally, creatine
Yeah.
monohydrate. I don't think you can go anywhere without seeing a creatine monohydrate supplement. And that's why maybe what we can do, D, is for our Patreon members. So if you head on over to patreon.com/ISN podcast, we do have a free, online place you can join and just kind of interact with us. But we also have some memberships that if you kind of give us a couple bucks a month to kind of help us keep our podcast going, because remember, we are sponsor free. What we'll do is maybe we can put, not maybe, we are going to put our favorites, call it top three, top five, whatever, creatine monohydrate supplements that we prefer as sport dietitians, that we recommend and that we take, because both of us take creatine. So it helps you to kind of answer the question and probably save a lot of time in going through the weeds in these hundreds of thousands of creatine supplements. So let's do that, D. Let's
Yeah.
put our top creatine monohydrate supplements in our Patreon account for our members.
That sounds great, Bob. Yeah. All right. Well, if you have other questions on your mind, listeners, about creatine, definitely pop over to the Patreon account and drop us your question there. And that is amazing. We hope to see you over there for all of the reasons that we just mentioned and appreciate your support. All right, Bob. Well, hopefully you did take your creatine today. And if not, it's on tap for your schedule.
It was actually in my morning smoothie. It
Well, I
always is.
figured, okay. I haven't had mine yet, so it's coming though. All right, listeners, thank you so much for being here, and we'll catch you on our next episode.